About population and sample. Let's understand what is population and what is sample technically. Population is the universe from which the data is originating. Let us say, if you want to study the age of the people in the country, then every single member, every single person in the country forms the population. But practically, we don't do that. We take a small sample to study, and from there we try to make inference about the population. Oftentimes, instead of sampling, we do the whole population study. When the data is collected from the entire population, it is called as census. The census data is very expensive to collect. That is the reason we see that population census is conducted every 5 years, or in some countries every 10 years. And there are many countries which don't do the census at all. Sample is a representative population from the population, which is used for study, wherein you do all the statistical methods and analysis, and then from there you draw inference about the population. We will study the inferential statistics later in the course, and where we will learn about the foundational theory which supports or validates the generalization from the sample. Now the sampling can be done in two different fashions. One, probability sampling, and non-probability sampling. The difference is very simple. In case of probability sampling, the chance of a data point from the population getting selected in the sample is same. There is no bias. Everybody has the same chance of getting selected in the sample. In case of non-probability sampling, the chance of every member getting selected is different. Typically, the amount of randomness in the probability sampling is to the full extent, and the level of randomness in the non-probability sampling is restricted. Let us look at what are the different probability and non-probability sampling methods. Within probability sampling, we have simple random sampling, which is every single member of the population has the same chance of getting selected in the sample. Stratified sampling, if we know there are multiple tiers or strata of population within the bigger population, we can do a random sampling of each strata in the proportion the population exists in each of the strata. That is stratified sampling. Similarly, we have cluster sampling. In cluster sampling, you have multiple homogeneous population groups. Let us say in a given country, there are metropolitan cities. Let us say there are 4 metropolitan cities in the country. So each of them have the same nature and characteristics. So we may choose to study just one metro instead of doing a simple random sampling, which may be very expensive to collect the data. Similarly, we have systemic sampling, systematic sampling. It is typically used in the production or the manufacturing process, wherein you draw out systematically certain number of sample after certain number of products have been manufactured. Let us say you may choose that every 100th product will be drawn out of the sample and checked for the quality. That's a systematic sampling. On the other hand, we have non-probability sampling. Non-probability sampling is deployed for quick studies, something where random sampling or probability sampling is expensive or infeasible to do. First one is the convenience sampling. In case of convenience sampling, what we do is we collect the data from the accessible sample. Let us say a student is given an assignment to collect some data. Now, a student does not have the wherewithal to collect a random sample from the entire city. So the student will approach his friends for the responses. Similarly, we have quota sampling, wherein we allocate certain number of people to be selected from small pockets, wherein we may say that, hey, I would like to have people working in IT industry, so many people working in manufacturing, so many people working in government, and through which we are going to compose our final sample. Next one is the judgment sampling. In this case, a expertise or a knowledge of the person. When you are collecting information, something which requires a deeper understanding or a intense understanding of a particular subject, in that case, we would do a judgment sampling. Instead of talking to 100 people, we may want to talk to 2 or 3 people whom we believe have done very intense study about that subject for which you need the data. An example could be a politician who is representing a particular constituency. The judgment sampling would suggest, instead of talking to every single individual, we already know there is a politician who is already representing these people, and he has been elected by these people, so he has better understanding of these people. Next one is the snowball sampling. Is what the term means. Snowball sampling is you talk to someone, collect the data, and ask that person to recommend or suggest or collect data from the people whom that person knows. And subsequently, the people who collect data, you ask them to collect data from the people whom they know, etc. Now here, the people who get selected in the data is having a certain element of bias, or the chances of every single member getting selected is not same. Let's elaborate on the stratified and cluster sampling. In case of stratified sampling, you would stratify the population into multiple stratas. Example, you want to collect the views about a new government policy from the people working in the IT industry. In that case, you may want to collect the data from the junior management, middle management, and the top management. So you would stratify the data into junior, middle, and top management. And in proportion to which each of these management population exists, you draw a random sample in the same proportion from each of these stratas. And so that you have the collection of, you have the data from the each strata. So everybody is represented in the final sample. On the other hand, in cluster sampling, we identify homogeneous set of clusters which we believe are similar. In that case, instead of collecting randomly from each of the cluster, we study 1 or 2 clusters intensely, which we know are similar to the other clusters in the population. These are done typically when you have long distances to travel and the cities are far apart, but the cities are similar in nature. In that case, you can do cluster sampling. Now let's look at the non-probability sampling, convenience sampling. You collect the data from the people whom you have access. Similarly, we have purposive sampling, wherein we talk to the people whom we believe would have better information compared to the others. Third one, voluntary sampling, wherein you invite people to come and respond to your questionnaire to collect your data, and those who volunteer, they become your sample. Snowball sampling, you approach one, that person approaches the people whom he knows, and then in turn they approach further, so kind of snowballs and the entire sample is collected.